broadcast. All right. We have some friends joining us.
So guys, how do you feel about watermelon?
Love it.
One of my favorite summer fruits.
I love oranges. Obsessed.
Strawberries are where it's at.
What about mangoes, y'all?
I hate mangoes.
I hate
Really?
mangoes too.
Yeah.
I cannot stand mangoes.
Okay, I know. Okay, Akash gets me. Like, isn't it like a weird texture? It's just kind
Yeah,
of
it's like smooth, but like
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's just
And
weird.
then the center gets like spiky when you try to cut them. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
I haven't even gone that far into the center. I just take one bite and I'm done.
I know, same. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That is not one of our poll questions. The favorite summer fruit, but that would be a good one. Remember last time we asked summer dessert, and one person, I think it was Alex, said fruit, but everybody else said ice cream.
I can't believe I was the only one. That's
Still surprising to you.
yeah, it is. Like fresh fruit like is so good. They are great. Wait, mangoes are pretty great. Yeah.
We are going to get started pretty soon here. We have about 90 seconds before we get started. We want to be respectful of everybody's time, but maybe we should see where you guys fall on this question about your current study and organizational habits. How are you guys feeling here in summer school? Jack, I know you're taking summer school classes.
Oh yeah.
Are you
I think
expert level?
we'd also like to shout out some middle schools while everyone's flooding in here.
Oh yeah. Do it. Who are you?
So I'd like to start off by shouting out West Oak.
Shout out to Fremont.
Shout out to Woodlawn. Go Wolves.
Second shout out to Woodlawn.
Shout out to Aptekissick. Go Eagles.
Aptekissick.
Woo!
Shout out to Twin Groves. Go Colts.
Shout out to private schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get some students from Quest, some students from St. Mary's.
And last but definitely not least, Daniel Wright represent from Alex, Jack, Akash, and I, all Daniel Wright Trojans.
All of us. Oh my gosh.
I feel like I can shout out the transfer students because Stevenson was not my high school district, so I've transferred in as an adult. All right, well, it is 7 o'clock. We've got a Zoom full here, and I think we can go ahead and get started. So my name is Zara Dittman. I have the privilege and the pleasure of serving as the Freshman Mentor Program Coordinator. And tonight you'll be hearing from 9 of our student executive board members who are all senior mentors and second-year mentors this year who have been through the program and are busy planning creative new ways to help support your transition to Stevenson. And so this webinar series is one of those creative ideas come to life. We've never done this before, but of course we've never been in times like these before. So we're hoping that there'll be a nugget or two within this presentation that get you thinking about how you might organize your virtual backpack, physically and digital spaces and all of that. They've got lots of good content and tips from their own personal experience. So we're excited to have them with you, and I am going to go ahead and turn it over to them.
Hey guys, my name is Carly King, and if I had to pick one class that's my favorite at Stevenson, I would say AP Human Geography. I took that my sophomore year, and it was really fun. And then if I had to pick one Stevenson event that was my favorite, I would definitely say the basketball games. Even if I'm not playing in them, it's really fun just to go and cheer on the bleachers.
Awesome, Carly. Hi, everyone. My name is Blake Finkel. My favorite Stevenson High School class is definitely pre-calc because I loved my teacher, Mr. Kim. And then my favorite SHS event is definitely Spring Fling, which is where you make a team with all your friends and you play a group sport at the end of second semester.
Thanks, Blake. I'm Molly Duffy, and my favorite class at Stevenson has definitely been AP European History. And my favorite event at Stevenson was World's Fair, which I've gone to every single year. And World's Fair is a great way to learn about more other cultures and try foods from all over the world.
Thanks, Molly. Hi, everyone. My name's Akash. My favorite Stevenson class would be my sophomore English Excel class. My favorite SHS event would be any of the football games. They're just so much fun to go to.
Thank you, Akash. Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca Jin. Shout out to all transfer students in private schools. My favorite class at Stevenson so far, like Molly, has been European history, and my favorite Stevenson events are football games.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hey everyone, my name is Jack Arney. My favorite class at Stevenson so far has been AP Early Bird Physics, and my favorite event at Stevenson is Spring Fling, just like Blake.
All right, thank you, Jack. Hi, I'm Alex. My favorite Stevenson class has been AP Biology, and my favorite Stevenson event is Homecoming, which is the fall school dance.
Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name is Serena Mehta. My favorite Stevenson class so far is definitely AP US History, and my favorite SHS event is also Homecoming, like Alex.
Thanks, guys. Hey, everyone. My name is Michael Zaslowski, and my favorite Stevenson class is definitely tied between Spanish literature and English language and composition. I think they're just some of the most thought-provoking classes, and they're so interesting. And in terms of my favorite Stevenson event, it definitely has to be World's Fair. Just like Molly, it's just really, really great event.
All right, so on tonight's agenda, we're going to start out with physical organization, which includes how to build a calendar, what school supplies are good for Stevenson, note-taking, digital spaces, and resources.
And on the other half of our agenda today, we're going to talk about balance, which includes academic flexibility, sports, clubs, and activities outside of school.
All right, guys, so the first thing that we kind of really want to emphasize is building a calendar. And so the importance of building a calendar kind of stretches past being able to better manage your time. It also really has a big impact on your health. So building a calendar allows you to manage your time effectively. And so that means breaking up your studying, for example. So instead of studying for a test, the night before, you could break it up into, the 2 weeks before. So that makes sure that, you're retaining that longer memory, and it makes sure that you're getting enough sleep. That is super, super important because your health is directly related to how well you perform in school. And so the more sleep that you have, right, the better you're able to focus. And as a result, the better you're able to perform academically. So building a calendar allows you to create balance in your life. And that is something that we will as well discuss later in the presentation. And some really useful tools for this include your Google Calendar and your iPad calendar. And so often these two sync. So, if you put something into your Google Calendar, you'll be able to see it in your iPad calendar and you'll get notifications to keep you updated. Another really important tip in terms of calendars is having your notebook or some sort of note-taking device out during morning announcements, because that allows you to write down various club dates or deadlines that are frequently advertised on those announcements.
Thanks, Michael. All right, so in middle school, you may have received like a nice cardboard box with everything you needed and all the school supplies, but that's really not the case freshman year. On the first day of school, your teachers will hand out syllabuses with a list of supplies you'll need for the class that year. Now, everyone has a different or special system with binders and notebooks, and every teacher understands this. One thing I recommend personally is having binder dividers, so you don't need a binder for every class. This prevents a little thing that the upperclassmen have a joke about, which is the freshman backpack or an overflowing backpack. But it's always great to be prepared. Additionally, you'll be expected to have your iPad charged every day in the morning, but it also doesn't hurt to bring your charger. So if a fellow friend or classmate forgot to charge their iPad overnight, you can help a lending hand. Also, one way to prevent the freshman backpack is a locker. Now this is optional, but a few weeks into school, you will receive a form with locker request info. You can choose the location, which is really unique about Stevenson, based off of your schedule, extracurriculars, sports, And FMPs will help you during advisory pick that strategic location, of course. Now, if you need a locker, just like Michael said, it's really good to use a calendar so you can organize it and take things out at the end of the week. Teachers really encourage you to have organized backpacks and binders and lockers so you can reach for your worksheets and notes as soon as possible so you're not wasting any class time. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, it's always important to have your ID. This will help you prove that you're a SHS student. It'll help you buy food during lunch periods or during study hall periods, and it'll also get you into sports games. Now on to Rebecca with taking notes.
Thank you, Jack. So now I will be talking a little bit about taking notes and taking notes at Stevenson in all of your classes. So a really helpful tip from us to you is to organize your notes by subject. You can do this physically by using folders, notebooks, or binders, and then you can also do this digitally by organizing your subjects and folders on applications like Notability, Google Drive, or Google Docs. I also think taking notes with a style that works best for you is what is going to benefit you most here at Stevenson when you start taking notes and studying for your classes. So some people like doing this physically by taking paper notes with notebooks, and others like following templates like Cornell Notes, and then other people like taking digital notes using Notability, GoodNotes, or Google Docs. As you can see here to the right, this is just an example of Cornell Notes and just notes that are more structured that some people like using. I also recommend color coding your notes and subjects in order to stay organized. So if I were taking a science class, maybe the science class would be in red and I'd have red notebooks and red folders. But if I was taking a math class, maybe this class would be in yellow. That way I have two different colors for two different subjects, so I'm able to stay a little bit more organized. I also think that once you find a style that works best for you, you're going to be able to take your notes most effectively and efficiently. Now here are just examples of what our notes look like. Mine here is to the very left. I really enjoy having lots of visual representations of the things that I'm learning. These notes were from one of my economics courses, so you can see there's lots of graphs and things like that. And to the right, these are Michael's and Alex's notes. So would you guys like to explain a little bit?
Sure. So in terms of my notes, I always like color code things. So for example, the lighter blue is definitions of certain ideas or certain vocabulary terms, while the darker blue is kind of the definition of those different things. And so to me, that kind of helps me map things out so that I can better follow my notes when I have to go back and study for a test or a quiz or maybe even the final at the end of the semester. It just helps me stay more organized.
I'm personally a super big fan of using Google Docs for my notes. My hand gets tired really easily and my handwriting gets really bad. So these are my notes from AP Bio. Basically what I do is like I underline stuff that I need, bold stuff. I include like visual representations because I'm also not that great at drawing. Personally, I think that this is what works best for me.
Thanks, Rebecca. Now I'll be covering digital spaces. One of the best ways to stay on top of your work is organizing yourself using the apps available to you on your iPad. Whether you use Canvas or Google Classroom to post or whether your teachers use Canvas or Google Classroom to post assignments, Gmail is a constant source for information on assignment updates and tests and quizzes. So I would recommend taking 5 to 10 minutes every single day to read and respond to emails from your teachers and classmates to stay on top of your workload and assignments. To further your accountability, you can also sync your Google Calendar with Gmail in order to transfer over Zoom links and other meeting times to this calendar application. Notability is another great app that allows you to type and draw, giving you the ability to take more complex and detailed notes, just as Michael and Rebecca were doing. Notability is also great because you can organize your notes by class into more subcategories. On the right is an example of Michael's Notability. Google Drive, just as Alex was using, is another great place to take and download notes if you want to type or if your hand gets tired really easily like Alex. Google Drive also has similar organization when compared to Notability. However, Google Drive is better for downloading and creating presentations, sheets, and videos. Personally, I like to use both apps to take notes because I'm like a mixture of writing down my notes on paper, on Notability, and using Google Classroom for all my club and school work. Lastly, as Michael said earlier, Google Calendar is a phenomenal tool for keeping yourself on task and organized. Google Calendars are also shareable with your classmates and teachers, so you guys can coordinate meeting times and to make sure that your schedules are both available during that time. You can also create separate calendars for school, work, and clubs, or any other responsibilities that you may have, and organize them to a singular calendar as shown on the bottom right. So each of those calendars is divided by colors and commitments, so it's a really great way to see like where you spend most of your time in order to maximize the efficiency of the app as well as your schedule. You can always activate, this is a great assignment taking tool as well, by turning on notifications for Google Calendar to let you know when homework's due or when your tests and quizzes are. Next, we have Carly talking about covering resources.
Yes, so as my girl Molly just reviewed, Stevenson offers their students access to various helpful resources like Google Drive and Notability. At Daniel Wright, I use these two platforms often, and I would say that during my high school experience, I've most commonly used Google Drive, Google Classroom, Notability, and Canvas. And if Canvas isn't familiar to you, I would recommend taking some time to go through the features before school starts. IRC is the website students here use to check their grades. And also this past spring, Zoom was definitely my most used resource. So even if you would already consider yourself a Zoom expert with a fun background like Michael and everything, I would also recommend freshening up your Zoom skills prior to the start of school. It never hurts, and technology can be tough sometimes. On the other hand, Daniel Wright did not have the same in-school resources as Stevenson, and I'm sure this is the case for other feeder schools too. For example, during lunch or with a pass during study hall, I would commonly spend time in the ILC or the ELC. And also when I was a freshman, Algebra 2 Accelerated was pretty hard for me, and the tutors in the learning centers really helped me grow my algebra game. And I mentioned last episode that study groups are a great way to maximize your learning. Just like when we're in person, the learning centers are also a great place to study by yourself or with friends. And there's so many tables, and you can even book a study room for an hour or two to get your work done. And lastly, I would always recommend meeting with your teacher to go over a concept or a unit if you're having trouble. For example, in AP US History this past year, we had to write these long in-class essays called LEQs, and yes, they were not fun. And I didn't do as well as I wanted to on the first one, so I sent my teacher a quick little email and we met, and I thought it was really beneficial to go over the rubric and the concept, so I knew exactly what I needed to do to improve. And that concludes my slide, but I believe in you guys, and you got this.
Awesome, thank you, Carly. Yeah, like you said, between teachers and tutors, like there's so many resources that really make the Stevenson experience one that's achievable. All right, so we're now going to shift into balance and academic flexibility. And so making sure that you create a Stevenson experience that's best for you. So for classes, there's three main levels of courses. So the first level is college prep courses, which are the traditional courses that properly prepare you for college. The next level is advanced or accelerated courses, which pursue, as it says, a more advanced level. And the final level of courses is honors and AP. AP courses you'll see later in your Stevenson experience, possibly when you start sophomore or maybe junior year, and those allow you to earn college credit through an AP test at the end of the semester or at the end of the year. Majority of your classes as a freshman will be in the first two categories of college prep and maybe some advanced courses. The higher the course level is, the stronger it has an impact on your GPA and the higher value it'll be. And you'll learn more about GPAs in advisory. Every student should find a balance that fits for them in their academic classes. In addition, if you know of a class right now that, that you want to make a change to in this upcoming year, you should reach out to your summer school you should reach out to the summer school counselor, which are available on the Stevenson website. If you want to add a course during the year after school starts, you have up to the first 3 days of the semester. So for example, if you have a study hall or an open period, you have only the first 3 days just to make sure we're able to get you into that class. If you want to drop a class because you're a little overwhelmed or maybe the class wasn't what you thought it was going to be, you have up to the first 8 days after the first 6-week grading term. So the Stevenson year is split up into 6-week grading terms. So 8 days after that first grading term is when you have to drop or to add a course. It's also the same amount of time you have to drop a course. It's also the same amount of time you have for a level change. So let's say you're in Algebra 2 Accelerated and you're doing great at it and you want to move up to Algebra 2 Honors. That's a level change. Or maybe Algebra 2, you're struggling a bit because your English class is really hard and you want to drop to Algebra 2 in the college prep level. So that's a level change. And again, similar to dropping a course, you have up to the first 8 days after the first 6-week grading term to do that. For adding a course, dropping a course, and level changes, you should see your counselor or go on the Stevenson website to see how to do that, and they will help you along the way. And the final thing is GPA waivers. So a GPA waiver allows you to waive that GPA value for a class and exclude it from your grade point average, from your total high school GPA. You're only able to GPA waive certain courses, and your counselor will explain how to GPA waive in advisory. And again, if you want to make a schedule change right now, you know you want to add a course or drop a course, please reach out to the summer school counselors.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Blake. So now I'm going to talk about sports. And sports are a big aspect of Stevenson, but the best part about them is if you don't want to be part of it, you don't have to be, but they're there if you want them. So to start, Stevenson offers sports during the fall, winter, and spring season. And this can be really nice for students because sports won't run all year, which gives all students an opportunity to be part of other clubs and activities during the off season. The sports culture at Stevenson includes so many such as football, basketball, volleyball, badminton, field hockey, and much, much more. With those heavily involved in sports at Stevenson, learning how to balance your time and time management is super important and will become a big aspect of your life. The best part about it is Stevenson offers many resources for students such as the ILC, like Carly mentioned, so that you can work on your academics during the day and be part of your sport and be part of your team in the afternoons. At the same time, one of the best things Stevenson offers is a study hall during the day. So for me personally, as a freshman, I joined the volleyball team, and learning how to balance both my homework, studying for tests and quizzes, and also being on a team and having 3 hours of practice after school every day was super challenging at first. But I decided to take a study hall, and that is possibly one of the best decisions I have ever made. So I was able to get my homework done during the school day, during my study hall, and then I could focus solely on sports after the school day ended. So in terms of sports equipment and locker, with every sport, when you register to be on the team, you are provided with both the equipment and your sports uniform, but lockers are not guaranteed for every athlete at Stevenson. But like Jack mentioned earlier, when you take the locker survey at the beginning of the year, most students will use that for their sports gear because it's a lot to lug around during the day, especially if you have to travel from different buildings. So the best advice I could give is to get a locker and put all your sports stuff in there during the day because it's a lot to carry around. Another aspect of SHS sports, for those who don't want to be part of such a heavy time commitment, is intramural sports. So through this, students have the opportunity to create their own teams with friends and participate in a sport of their choice. For example, Stevenson offers intramural sports in basketball, flag football, and a new edition of cricket. Tons of students love to participate in intramurals because it's a great way to be part of sports, but with a little less stress and less time commitment, which is obviously we all love that. And finally, I just want to talk about the impact of sports at Stevenson. For me personally, I have been on a sports team every single year, and I plan to be on my senior year too. And the coaches that Stevenson offers and has for all sports are absolutely amazing. They've become some of the biggest role models and mentors in my life. And for me personally, I feel like all Stevenson students can trust their coaches with anything, and they will help them learn how to balance both high school and being on a sports team. At the same time, being on a sports team is obviously a great way for exercise, and at the same time, it's a great stress relief, especially with learning to be in high school for your first year and balancing and managing everything. So I hope that once you guys join a sports team, that you enjoy it and have as much fun as I do.
All right, thank you, Serena. So now I'd like to talk about some of the other ends of Stevenson's extracurricular opportunities, which are the clubs. So on your right, you'll see a QR code that leads to Stevenson's website, which outlines all of the 100 plus clubs at Stevenson. While I'm talking, feel free to scroll through the website and find some clubs that pique your interest. So first, I'd like to talk a little bit about time commitment. So that's because different clubs and sports meet at different times, but they can occasionally intersect and meet at the same time. I highly recommend that you don't join clubs and sports that meet at the same time, because if you do, you'll have to limit your availability to both. But when it comes to high intensity sports and clubs, that may be an unfortunate conflict, and you may not be able to participate in either if they conflict at the same times. But you can reach negotiations with the club sponsors or the coaches, but that's heavily dependent on the sponsors and coaches. Additionally, make sure that you have days where you aren't doing anything before or after school. For example, during my junior year, I only had Wednesday afternoons and Tuesday mornings free, and I definitely needed a lot more time to meet with my teachers or do homework early and just relax with my friends. So I can't stress this enough, but your mental health will always take precedence over your clubs and other extracurricular commitments. So now I want to go a little bit into the clubs that are being offered at Stevenson. First, I want to talk about competitive clubs, which may include some of the more pre-professional clubs, such as Future Business Leaders or Healthcare Occupational Leaders of America, or Debate and Model UN, which focus on public speaking and diplomatic skills. So these clubs spend a lot of time both in and out, developing the skills required to be successful at competitions, and skills required to be successful in a variety of other areas. They also work on specific projects throughout the year and have typically a larger membership and higher time commitments. These may include travel. I know from my experiences in debate, I've traveled anywhere from North Carolina to Massachusetts. The other end of that is non-competitive clubs. So these can be anything from clubs working to better the school to uniting a certain community over a common interest. So some of these include Student Council or In the Loop, which is Stevenson's knitting club. I'd like to focus on two particular types of clubs in particular. So first, I'd like to talk about cultural clubs. Personally, I've learned so much about my own culture and other cultures through the Asian Night Market and World's Fair. These clubs in particular offer education about different cultures and build community and unity within the school. But keep in mind that they're not only limited to people within the culture. As long as you have an interest in the club, you can join. Secondly, I think service clubs are a huge part of Stevenson. Including clubs like the Freshman Class Board and Key Club, service is a huge focus here at Stevenson. And because Stevenson is so heavily service-oriented, putting yourself in that mindset through clubs is possible here at Stevenson because there are so many clubs and opportunities for service. Finally, I'd like to emphasize that everyone at Stevenson is still learning to have these tough conversations we've been having recently and gaining new perspectives. Personally, for me, cultural clubs in particular help me make sure that I've learned new perspectives and that I'm always growing. I want to emphasize this though. Education at Stevenson wasn't just what I learned inside of the classroom. It was also what I learned outside of it. From every club that I've been in, from the ones I went to one meeting during freshman year to the ones I spend hours per week on, even in junior year. They've all taught me new things about myself and others. So if there's one thing you can take out of this slide, it's that you should explore everything that interests you because you'll learn from every club meeting and you'll grow and it'll be great.
Thank you, Alex, for talking about clubs and balancing your time with clubs. Finally, we're going to talk about activities outside of school and how to pretty much manage your time. So when all is said and done, there will be time outside of school and outside of your clubs for you to engage in activities that you value the most. Now, generally, outside of school, you want to fill up your time with something you enjoy, but we understand that sometimes you may have other commitments. So here we're going to talk about a little more specific. We're going to be a little more specific. So when it comes to sports participation outside of school teams, there are multiple things. So while there are sports through Stevenson, these sports tend to only last one season or about a third of the school year. Some students find that they don't want to stop playing their Stevenson sport, and so they go ahead and they choose to play the sport outside of Stevenson through a club or through a casual recreational community. As always, make sure that you're able to balance and prioritize, and above all, make sure that you're comfortable with the activities that you participate in. Me personally, I've played club volleyball outside of school for the past 2 years, and I've absolutely loved it. With the big time commitment of volleyball for me, I've had to learn to prioritize my time, making sure I can get my homework done and still meet with my friends and still attend the clubs that I enjoy. Next, I'd like to talk about volunteering outside of school. So while there are clubs within school that are volunteer clubs like NHS, if you so choose to volunteer outside of school, you can. Like I said before, outside of school, your time is owned. And so you may choose to spend some of that time volunteering. Some good places for you to volunteer are Feed My Starving Children and the Vernon Food Pantry. At Stevenson, students log in their service experiences through the interview platform. Next, I'd like to talk about having a job. So sometimes you may choose to have a job outside of school. With having a job also means that you'll have to balance your shift timings and you have to be flexible with certain time shifts. As a freshman, if you so wish to have a job, you'll need to get a worker's permit. And I believe you can contact your counselor more if you want to learn more about getting a worker's permit and working. In general, we want to make sure that while you're getting the most out of your time at Stevenson, you're also taking time to relax. Everyone at Stevenson knows the work that you put in school and during activities outside of school. With that being said, you should also allocate time for you to relax and take breaks, whether they be physical or mental breaks. After all, your time outside of school is what you make it to be.
With that, I'd just like to thank our senior panelists for their tips for you to have a successful and organized virtual backpack. We have here a QR code that will take you to a link where you can provide some feedback about tonight's webinar. We plan to host several more throughout the summer, and we want to make sure that we're addressing topics that you have questions about and that you're curious about. Like I said, we don't have a set curriculum for our webinars because it's never been done before. And so we want to know what you're thinking about. One way to know what's happening at Stevenson throughout the summer and as we approach your orientation is to follow us at SHS FMP and of course the school at Stevenson HS and then on Facebook as well. We will have more detailed information for you about your orientation in August, and we are thinking outside the box to make sure we have a plan that is going to help you transition and welcome you to our campus. We can't wait to see you there, and we have missed being there, but we know that it'll be all that much more meaningful when we're back together again. So with that, we will say good night and see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for
Bye,
coming,
guys.
everyone.
Good night.